if any of you are working with a large company, have you seen any? Okay. So are you already using Jenny? Yeah. Okay. Maybe you can relate what I'm going to talk to you. But maybe you guys can also relate if you're not working, but you're dealing with the multiple clouds, because that's kind of a trend right now. So, just. I'm sorry about that.
You want to turn it that way?
Yeah, let's see if I can. Okay, all right. Yeah, so the topic that I want to talk about is obviously AI gateway, and the topic we are talking about is the port key. So before I start, this is about me. So I'm working at PG&E, but I'm not the official person on speaker of PG&E. So most of what I'm talking about is most of like my views and my ideas that we are trying to implement at PG&E, right? So this is about my introduction. Obviously I have worked in IT a lot. I have played different roles. Before PG&E, I was working at AWS, and I was working. My customer was Amazon, and I was working on this generative AI when the boom started, and all cloud companies start working on the generative AI product. I was working and evaluating the product, taking it to Amazon, looking into use cases, providing feedback to the AWS product team when it was not even named Bedrock, right? So this is my experience, and then now with PG&E, I'm the technical product owner for the cloud CUE. So when I joined, we were just working with the AWS, and we start expanding into Azure. We are looking into other cloud, and I'm seeing multi-cloud is gonna be the future, right? And multi-cloud is not new to me. When I was working with Albertsons, I worked with multi-cloud there also. But that time, probably I'm seeing the trend is changing. So how the multi-cloud happened that time, and now how it is happening, technology has changed. So what I want to talk about is how we can deal with at the enterprise level. What is the role of the AI gateway, which is basically centralized AI gateway, and what problem is trying to solve, because we are looking at AI gateway as the central point of control, right? It's the central point of governance. And I just mentioned over here AWS and Azure, how well it integrates. That's kind of the feature that we looked at from the port key perspective. And the business benefit that is coming into, like, the AI world is evolving. There's a lot of unknown cost, which is most of the big enterprise will look into first. And even though any cloud service seems like we are starting with the low cost, but when the usage happens, so the cost increase. So do we have that control? So if you know about Cloud Center of Excellence, there is a function called FinOps, and FinOps plays a role where they want to understand what the budget of your application is, how you're controlling it, and that's what the another point for this benefit. And obviously, how you can accelerate innovation in your company, where you're being a developer, not thinking about infrastructure, not thinking about the framework every time, not thinking about the cost which is out of control. So this is kind of the executive summary. I will go into detail a little bit just to talk about, because many people might have question about a why multi-cloud, right? So the big enterprise, they always look into multi-cloud. There are a couple of things that see, you might have heard there was outage in AWS a couple of years back in one region, and the discussion is started. Should we think about another cloud? Because if one cloud is not going to be resilient, maybe my application should run in another cloud. So resiliency, the flexibility, not getting logged into one single vendor, better negotiation power. There are several reasons why a company might think into multi-cloud. So multi-cloud is going to be the future. We cannot avoid it. Now, it comes with some challenge. right? So every cloud you need to run. You need to have developers who understand the cloud separately. They can build applications understanding those services. And then governance issue, and obviously you need to have some control of the cost. It's not related to generative AI at all. It's like overall cloud cost that we're talking about. And obviously, the integration compliance from the enterprise, cybersecurity compliance, risk management, all those come into the use when it comes to AI. So scaling brings the cost in. So how we optimize the cost when we scale. Now, this is what like I joined PG&E. It's about like 11 years, and I was told like, let's start building the AI gateway. Um, when I start talking to the team there, every team has their own definition of what AI is, how they are thinking, because they were looking one product from one vendor, another product from another vendor, and they were solving some specific use cases using AI. They thought that's AI, right? Vendor was saying like AI agent, and they're saying, look, if I just get the agent, everything underneath working magically, and my solution will start working right away, right? And when we got into detail, they understood like now how much work I have to do to make this AI agent work for my use case. So I took this slide, and you can see which I got this image from. At some point, I came from Google. I was working with AWS that time. So this one I used to make sure like some of my team members, not my team members, other teams, they told me like, no, hey, I have a use case. I just need access to LLM. I know Python and I can build Gen AI application. I said, no, you need to understand what else is required. So this is a slide I used to tell them, hey, and I will put their YouTube clicks here. I just want to say that because I want to tell them, you think about prompt design, you think about libraries, you think about toxic content that you might send or receive. Then you need to think about your vector store, how you handle PI data. Data collection means like when your work start working on data, then obviously you need to think about do you have the right data for your use case. If you don't have, then you start going back and start building the right data. So all these things I will just go quickly here. And now what happens here? Like we are just talking about it's a foundation with the FinOps is one of the block here, and how you do the observability, like you're logging and monitoring your application, AI application. Now, if I talk about the advanced use case, which is more agentic actions that you want to take, so now it becomes like a foundation layer that you build. Top of that, you can build the agents. And I start seeing there were use cases will come related to edge computing, IoT, which is kind of one of that I'm already working on, right? So I expected that, and that's come, and then that time nobody knew what SLM is. I said the time will come when we start talking about fine tuning, and we need to start working on fine tuning the small language models. So then I put it into a bigger block like this, just to tell my management, and this was like really lagged by my management. One of my director, they made it a puzzle game out of it. So they took this picture, made a puzzle game, gave it to the people, and asked them to put them together to understand what all the dependencies we have for the building the AI framework or AI platform in our organization. So with this, when I was talking about looking at those different blocks, now one team cannot do it. We need partnership involvement from other teams. We need to put them on the same mindset, and we need to start thinking about building an AI platform. So when I was talking about AI platform, these were the things that I said, okay, now we understood what are dependencies, but let's look into how we can build that foundation. Now we are talking about different components of building AI applications. If you see here, the security and governance, which goes very high, at least the enterprise like PG&E, we think about security first. We always talk about safety. If you attend any PG&E meeting, the very first thing we'll talk about the safety. Like where you guys are, I would have started with that, right? So where you guys are sitting, if something happens here, right? Let's say earthquake happens, you guys know where to go. Do we have someone who can tell, hey, this is the exit This is what you have to do. Maybe you can hide, you can do. So we talk about that. So we always talk about the safety and security. So security is one. Prompt management, people don't take it very seriously, but this plays a big role. So if you're already working on generative AI application, you know that. Agentic workflow, which will come later on, but we are talking about which framework we can use, how we can improve the performance, are we monitoring it. We probably want to have multi-model because one model may not work for the use case. Single application might work on multiple models, and you guys probably already see like LLM as a judge, for example. Very simple but powerful use case where we use multiple LLMs. Guardrails, we probably want to protect our data which is going to the LLMs. We want to have visibility into it. We want to protect any prompt injection on any other risk with the guardrail. LLM ops, which nobody was thinking, and I was saying, okay, you need to look into how you are going to build your application and deploy to production. Because until you deploy to the production, it doesn't mean what you're developing, right? So, and then integration with the other frameworks. I talked about AI infrastructure. In my mind, I have GPU as a service that probably down the line, I don't want to depend on one vendor for providing the GPU for my fine tuning requirement. I should have a framework where I can just look into multiple vendors and choose the GPUs which are coming very cost effective, right? So all these things I can tie with AI gateway. Now, this is what you see here. I say if we start looking into AI gateway and think that how these things are tying together, then I can build the foundation for my development, and then I can think about path to the production. That should actually give my developers, they should not think about what is the infrastructure I'm choosing, what is the framework I'm choosing. Maybe they already have set of guidelines. They just think about the application code, commit to the GitHub, they deploy on the production, and rest of the things are taken care by the framework. So now the centralized AI gateway, this is the question I've been answering. In my company, I have answered, what is the benefit of this? Now, centralized AI gateway, I will talk about provide the strong centralized governance across all AI initiatives. So what was happening, every company was coming, not company, like every team was talking about AI solution, which is good. Usually talking about every team is very excited to bring AI solution. There are some of the vendors solutions, some of the homegrown solutions they were talking about. But then the internal process, maybe every company has that. We need to have access to AWS account. We need to build. So we want to is that layer saying that you have access to LLMs through AI gateway. Now, once you go through it, I can understand all the calls going out of my organization to all the LLM providers. So I have a single entry and single exit point. Now I don't need to worry about if you having the application silos and I have no visibility what you're sending, what you're getting, and one day I see some risk, maybe some exposure happened and we never knew, right? The unified guardrail that makes us the capability that I'm protecting my AI application prompts, the data they're trying to send. So we had multiple layers of guardrail. I can use, if I talk about portkey, like the portkey has a guardrail, I can use portkey guardrail. I can put up that I can Bedrock guardrail. I can use Azure guardrail, and I can put in layers. If one guardrail for some reason doesn't work, I have another guardrail, maybe another guardrail. So that defense in depth you can build. AI budget control I talked about. This is pretty important, right? I mean, in my experience, I see most of the time we spend in development. We probably make a lot of calls in development, and in a larger organization, I think, or maybe any organization should think about, hey, can I control the cost in development itself? Maybe you are trying to build a use case, and I can say, okay, I have got only 10K for this use case, and a month, let's see if you can do in this. So it gives the mindset to developer, I'm not just because I have access to LLMs, I'm not just overspending. I'm thinking, choosing the right LLM. I'm looking at the cost also. I'm looking into the capability of the LLM. And then I'm thinking which LLM is going to suit well for my use case with the less cost, or should be a cost effective.
A quick check on that.
So, okay, so I will go fast here. Obviously, there are other benefits here from the organization perspective. Um, Now, this is what the slide I put here as the platform. So if you look at this, I put all AI gateway is kind of a central here, which I want my organization to have the unified guardian practice, unified prompt, and then the unified way of accessing the LLM. So AI gateway is providing that layer. Then data layer is there, which basically the thought here that don't try to segregate data at one place. That I should be, or my application should be able to reach out to data wherever it is. And fine tuning, LLM ops, governance, and the innovation, which is AI POC center, is more like the innovation because as the new technologies are coming in, the team should be able to innovate with the latest model, new framework, and all that. So this is kind of the framework, and that should build how we provide no code tools. We can probably build the enterprise level chatbot, self-service catalog, and all other things. Now, here is where you use AI gateway. Obviously, I can use any of the LLMs. For the data layer, I have different data sources that I can think about connecting to my data. And these are all different framework and product which are in the mind, in the thinking to build out. But these are the options that could go into each of these pillars here. This is if you're not thinking about AI gateway, probably there are some risk here. And I mentioned I'm not going to go through this one, but mainly that if you're not thinking about AI gateway, probably you are going to have a risk of not innovating things. You're not scaling, and it's not me saying it, right? This is a report from McKinsey. McKinsey has already said that they researched or they surveyed like over 150 companies and they came up with this report. So now these are two architecture. They presented two different reports. So if you see this architecture, and maybe I will just put it here, you see that LLM gateway, which is another way of calling AI gateway, and AI gateway service in both. One is the banking architecture, right, and other is they surveyed across and they got this common different architecture. Both architectures are using AI gateway, right? So with that one.
Just for sake of time, maybe we continue the conversation on the panel.
Okay. No,
okay?
this is my last slide.
Okay,
I'm
great.
done.
Awesome. Thank you so much.